Hey guys, it's
Take.
and Tack.
Welcome back to Borderlands 3.
Yeah! We're,
Oh.
playing this game. I'm gonna read off these cards. Have you looked at them?
I have. I read them.
Nice!
That's all I remember from them.
Alright. Alright, Inspiring Overseer. Flying. When it enters the battlefield, you gain life and draw a card. That's it. Majestic Metamorphosis. Until in a turn, target artifact or creature becomes a 4/4 angel artifact creature and gains flying. Draw a card. That's nice. Venom Connoisseur. Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Venom Connoisseur gains Death Touch until in a turn. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, all creatures you control gain Death Touch until in a turn. Damn. Bouncer's Beatdown. This spell costs 2 less to cast, or if it targets a black ring. Bouncer's Beatdown deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. If that creature or planeswalker would die this turn, exile it instead. That's rude. Security Rocks. You may pay 1 red, 1 green, rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Spend only mana produced by treasures to cast this spell. I was like, it's like, what? Would that matter? That's a good deal, though. If you have treasures, because that would be 2 mana. He's a 5/4.
Right.
So 2 mana and you just fucking drop in.
You only need 2 treasures, which is presumably pretty easy to fucking get.
Yeah, especially if you have a deck based around that.
Yeah. It's like, oh, when this creature comes into play, treasure.
Treasure.
Whenever another creature comes into play, treasure.
Whenever you shit your pants.
Whenever this happens, treasure.
Treasure.
And then another one where it's like the Horde or some shit, and it's like every time a treasure comes into play, you make a 4/4 flying dragon. Because that makes sense.
Sure.
It does. Dragons collect treasure.
Yeah.
That's why it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes some sense, I guess.
Some sense. It makes perfect sense.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
No. Tramway Station. Land. Here's a battlefield tapped. Add black or red. Pay 4, sacrifice it, draw a card. It's got cool art, though. Broker's Charm. Oh, yeah. Choose 1. Target creature you control gets +0 until the turn. It deals damage equal to its power of target creature or planeswalker your opponent's control. Destroy target enchantment or draw 2 cards.
Oh.
Alright, this guy. Horde Hauler. Trample. Whenever Horde Hauler deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token for each artifact they control. Nice.
See?
Crew 3. He's a 5/5, so. Revelation of Power. Target creature gets +2 until the turn. If it has a counter on it, it also gains flying and lifelink until the turn. Nice. And then you've got a fish token.
Yep.
This creature can't be blocked. Because he's a fish in a bubble.
It's got landwalk, basically.
Yeah, he's got a bubble. So silly. Another full art piece, I guess.
Yeah, I got 3 art cards.
Full art planes.
I love full art land, by the way.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I think I've mentioned it before. I love full art land.
God, these cards just feel so fucking weird.
I know.
Witty Roast Master. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Oh, there you go. That would be a good one in my Goblin deck. My Goblin Commander. Light him up, cat. Casualty 2. As you cast a spell, you may sacrifice a creature with power 2 or greater. When you do, copy the spell, and you may choose a new target for the copy. Light does 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Exhibition Magician. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1. Create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. Create a treasure token. Rogue's Gallery. For each color, return up to 1 target creature card from that color, to your graveyard to your hand. For each color, return up to 1 target creature card of that color from your graveyard to your hand. That's interesting. each color. Return up to one target creature card. How's that go? So you could theoretically return 5 creatures from your graveyard to your hand. Right? Red, white, green, blue, black. Yeah, that's crazy. Do it, Brayden. Bonk. Corpse Appraiser. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target creature card from a graveyard. If a card is put into exile this way, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put one of those cards in your hand and the rest of your in your graveyard. Grizzly Sigil. Casualty 1. Target. Choose target creature or planeswalker. If it was dealt non-combat damage this turn, it deals 3 damage to it, and you gain 3 life. Otherwise, it deals 1 damage to it and you gain 1. Waterfront District. New land. Queza Augur of Agonies. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent lose 1 life and you gain 1 life. That's rude. Who the hell is this guy?
It's Typhon de Leon.
Why
The
the fuck
very
is he
first
Typhon?
Vault Hunter.
Oh, was he the very first Vault Hunter?
Yep.
Says who?
It says the lore of the universe. Literally from the first game.
How is he still alive?
Oh, man. It's only been a few years, I guess.
Jeez. Jeez.
Please get Typhon de Leon's autograph for me and a lock of his hair for research purposes.
Oh yeah. Research purposes. Why doesn't she just go tell him?
Right.
Let's have babies. Okay, Maestro Diabolist. A Death Touch haste. Whenever he attacks, if you don't control a devil token, create a tapped and attacking 1/1 red devil creature token with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. That's cool. Gala Greeters. Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. Put a plus counter on Gala Greeters. Create a tapped treasure token. You gain 2 life. Nice. Arc Spitter. Equipped creature has pay 1. This creature deals 1 damage to target creature that's blocking it. Equip 1. Ooh, that's not even like that's just as many times as you want. That's cool.
What does it do exactly?
So it's equipment. So you drop it for 1, equip it for 1, and you can pay 1 as many times as you want, and to deal 1 damage to target creature that's blocking this creature.
That's awesome.
So you could literally just they block with like a 3/3 or a 1/1 or some shit, and it would kill yours. You just pay the amount of mana to kill it before it can kill yours, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
And you have a treasure token, some more full art weirdness, and a full art swamp. For the family, target creature has +2/+2 until end of turn. If you control 4 or more creatures, that creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn extent. For 1 mana, that's really good. That's actually really good actually. For 1 mana. Okay. Rockish Revealers. In this battlefield, create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. Pay 2. Exile it from your hand. Target land gains tab to add 1 red, green, or white. And then you may cast it. Exile. Until Rugged is cast from exile. Oh, until it is. You may cast it from exile as long as it remains exile. Okay. Gathering Throng. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for any number of cards named Gathering Throng, reveal them and put in your hand, then shuffle. That's interesting. Corpse Appraiser, Sigil, Vampire, Scrivener. Flying. Whenever you gain life during your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on him. Whenever you lose life during your turn, Put the plus with counter on him. Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a 5-drop for a 2-2, but I mean, that's rude as hell. Spara's Educators. When it enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls can't attack or block until your next turn. Pay 2, exile it from your hand, or land gains abilities for as long as it's kept. Exile. That's interesting. Another one of those guys. Shakedown Heavy. Menace. Whenever he attacks, the defending player may have you draw a card. If they do, untap Heavy and move it from combat. Ooh. That's cool, actually. Did you catch what its ability is?
Something about removing it from combat, which is neat.
Okay, so it's a 3-drop
Oh, that's awesome.
for a 6/4 with Menace.
Damn.
Yeah, but its ability obviously is where it's like, okay, they will either let you draw a card, or they take 6 damage, typically. Unless they're also playing a black deck or an artifact deck, I guess.
Right.
But it's still a 3-drop, so that's turn 4. You're just going to be swinging at them with this 6/4, which, you know, either you're going to get to draw...
Unless you have a card like, freaking... Not the fucking Goblin Chieftain, right? Not specifically, but something like that that gives haste
Yeah,
that you drop before.
yeah. And then turn 3, you can just, like, start attacking with this guy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you either get to draw additional cards or deal 6 damage. Or he kills it, which is, you know, a possibility, but probably not early on. Alright, big score. As just a cost to cast a spell, discard a card. Draw 2 cards and create 2 treasure tokens. 4 mana. And another treasure token. Coolio, Julio.
A new game came out on the 19th of September, and we are currently recording this on the 23rd of September, and I've been playing the fuck out of it.
What game?
It's called Lies of P,
What's
which
that?
is a, like, Dark Souls-style Pinocchio game.
Interesting.
It's like original Grimm Fairy Tales meets Dark Souls. It's fucking awesome.
Has it been fun?
Yeah, no, I've enjoyed it a lot. I feel like I'm nearing the end of the game. Obviously, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm nearing the end of the game.
Okay.
And I'm getting fucking railed by this boss. Because there's only been 2 bosses like him so far that have multiple phases. And his second phase is such horseshit.
What did it do?
Freaking, so we'll get to her eventually, but in DS3 there's this boss called Sister Frida.
Okay.
And she has an insane amount of HP and just attacks outright.
Okay.
Look at this. Fuck my ass. Okay, cool. She's just got a bunch of attacks, right? And just insanely long combos. She's fast as hell. She has 3 phases. So,
Jeez.
you know, she's a tough cookie, right?
Yeah, her cookie's tough.
Yeah, she's a tough customer. Just a little bit. Alright? Freaking, which, you know, would be fine if, you know, it's fair, which it is. Basically,
Yeah.
her first phase you can fight through, and then her second phase you can get, like, NPC to help you fight. And then her third phase is generally just a 1v1ing her, unless you summon, like, another player.
Okay.
Which, whatever, that's fine. It's
Yeah.
totally fair, it's done well. But in this game, you can summon an NPC to help fight. I think it's an NPC. It's never mentioned anything about online play, so I'm gonna assume it's an NPC. 'Cause
Right,
they
right.
suck ass.
Of
And
course.
they die really fucking fast.
Of course.
So, and then when you get to his second phase, which is basically Sister Frida in her third phase, right?
Yeah.
He even has a side. You're just by yourself and have no heals, and I'm nearing what I feel like is the end of the game, and I have 6 heals.
Wow.
When you fight Sister Frida in Dark Souls 3, you have 15.
Jeez.
And that's if you put all of your heals towards healing.
And it's not even good enough.
No, it's not.
It's so dumb.
So,
God, Braden, you know, I just don't feel like we're getting through games fast.
I'm schmoving it as fast as I can most of the time.
Well, I know. Put in the effort.
Fuck you.
But it still doesn't feel fast enough. You know what I mean? Get it?
We will start playing every game from now on easy. If that's an option, which obviously it isn't for the 3 games we're currently playing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's a whatever moment. It's just funny because we're like, oh, we'll get to Dark Souls 3 eventually. Then I'm thinking about, well, when are we going to start Dark Souls 2?
Yeah, and we have to get through all of Dark Souls 2, and then also the DLC, which is insanely long. Like, the base game is insanely long already.
Yeah,
so,
it's like,
you know.
It's like, who knows whenever that'll happen.
Yeah.
Probably, like, we would probably want to put it in this slot. Where it's
Yeah.
like,
No, I was
hour
thinking
long.
the same thing. And that's why I was thinking after Diablo.
Yeah. But then, like, how long is Diablo going to take?
Right? Diablo 1, 2, and 4.
Yeah. But, I mean, to
Because
be fair,
we're
though,
definitely going to be playing Diablo 4 before we play Dark Souls. Because it's going to be out. Or it's already out, isn't it?
Diablo 4? Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's out. We're going to be playing it before we play Dark Souls, obviously.
And so, like, thinking about it, I'm like, okay. To be fair, though, I think that Diablo will actually take less time than the Borderlands games.
Probably. But Borderlands is a very different style game.
I mean, yeah. I don't know about Diablo 4 though. I have no idea how long that game is.
Right. But if it's anything like Diablo 3, it's like,
Mm-hmm. Because I also don't know how long Diablo 1 is.
right.
But I know Diablo 2, if we do hour-long slots, probably is only going to take, like, 15 episodes at max.
Yeah, and we could play that one together.
Yeah, true.
So,
That one
because
together.
I do own it.
Yeah, that one and Diablo 4.
I obviously haven't played it, but
Yeah.
I own it.
You'll play it eventually.
Yeah.
But
So it's gonna be fucking baby's first RPG essentially. You're gonna have to babysit me for a while before I figure everything out.
yeah.
And we'll probably both just play Necromancer or something.
I mean, I probably won't have to baby you that much because you're gonna play the first game
Yeah.
first, which it's less complicated while also being more.
Yeah.
Just because it's less like stuff, but it's also like because there's less stuff, you gotta you gotta figure out how to use that stuff better. But anyways, first game, but I got the controller scheme set up so you can play the first game with the controller.
Heck yeah.
It might, I mean, you could decide not to, I guess, but it uses like mouse clicks and stuff to like move around. And that's how it works in the second game too, unless you're using the controller.
Yeah.
Which they set up in the new one. But the way I set it up is when you move the stick, that's the right stick is, or the left stick is the mouse,
Yeah.
and then the left trigger
Is the left click.
is
Probably.
the left click, and then the right trigger is the right click.
Yeah.
And then buttons are like actions or whatever, spells or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's I figured it out.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah. Yo, what's up?
Question.
Answer.
Interracial couple. So you have
Yeah.
dad and mom.
Okay.
Could the child be any skin color, or is it based off of one particular color?
It could be either white, it could be black,
Yeah.
or it could be a mix where they have
Okay, so
like
it's not entirely dependent on one parent. It can be either.
yeah. That's usually how genetics works.
Yeah.
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 There's not like a dominant side for like you can take after one or the other more often than the other side.
There could be, but it may be a specific gene
Yeah,
that
it-
not everybody has.
Yeah, because like obviously, difference between a black person and a white person is mostly just like, most people associate it with just the skin color,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of other factors that go
Well, yeah,
into it,
but
like
where you were
just
raised,
like more like
local genetics.
well, I'm thinking more like jaw structure, like the way their face is set up, the way they're like just like other parts of their bodies are just like based off of that, but. Because you can have like a black person with a lot of like
Very
white traits, so like their bone structure is more like what you would think of a Caucasian person, but they're dark skinned.
Yeah.
or vice versa.
I've seen, oh gosh, dude, I have seen a black Asian man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like kind of weird because you're like, something about this is like.
Well, it's not. Yeah.
It's like a combination of features that you don't see super common.
Yeah, because you mostly associate them with like other features,
Well,
and when it's not there, it's like, ooh.
interesting because it's really weird to say stuff like that. Like you almost think of like the whole idea of like when the Nazis were like, we can like measure your skull, and like there's if your skull doesn't like measure it to a certain point, you're like subhuman. But like, if you really think about it, like there are distinctive traits between different groups of people. Like it's just a thing.
Well, it's because there's just certain things that have like been passed down and became like the dominant in a group over time, and then because they were isolated for so long that those traits just didn't get passed on to each other as much.
Yeah.
But we're in the process as a race of becoming more like a one type of person.
Centralized with our traits.
Yeah, where everybody's got intermingling, and so all those traits are getting diversified into everybody else.
It'll get to a certain point where everybody looks kind of the same.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, everybody can have any kind of trait.
I mean,
like it's not weird. It wouldn't be weird to see specific traits in
it's
everybody.
Interesting. Like, do you think after? I mean, I think this is like the natural conclusion. If you took like there wasn't any isolation, right? There was like people could breathe throughout the entire population. There wasn't any isolation whatsoever. That eventually there would be one type of person. Like, say for instance that like Asian people just turned out like their genes turned out to be superior in an extent that they became more reoccurring than any other type, that they would just eventually outbreed like white people and then black people and then like any other type of
yeah. If that specific gene is dominant enough and it keeps that up, then yeah, eventually
outbreed every other type.
Yeah, eventually everybody would be more consistent. Kind of like kind of like how most, like a lot of black people have slightly thicker lips, you could say. And then, I mean, obviously nowadays you don't have that as much because they've intermingled.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
But for when they weren't, that was very dominant in like, black people. So, it's like that over time.
Gosh, I hope this episode's not gonna get canceled.
I don't think it will. We're not.
Well,
we're not
when
like
you start talking
being
about
racist.
This, I know, but when you start talking about this kind of stuff, some people will just take it like maybe like a step too far.
Yeah, well, some people are special.
Special
Yeah, oh, got him. But it's interesting to think
I
about.
can't see through this guy's crotch.
You're not allowed to see.
Man, so you know how what's that deficiency that or that special gene that animals can have that like they'll just be albino or like pure black?
Albinism.
Yeah, I don't know the name of it specifically.
So freaking oh gosh, so two black people could have a white child though, right?
Yes.
In very rare circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think
Well,
I've seen
it depends also too if like their previous ancestors, any of them had been white at some point, then yes.
So
But if they haven't, like they're pure, like African American all the way through their heritage, chances are no. Then like I don't think they'll ever be able to have a white child.
Unless albinism kicks in, which is a different thing.
Yeah, which is but that is completely different.
It's just crazy to think about it. Like you had humans where you were like they functioned and were exposed to the sun so much that like their melanin content in their skin was forever drastically altered. Versus you have people who like when they moved into like Europe and higher elevation places that didn't have nearly as much sunlight, freaking the melanin content in their skin permanently decreased.
Yep.
To suit the climate, and it's just it's just a thing now.
Yeah.
It's just like this is just how you pop out.
Yeah, and honestly, that's one of the biggest things that's going to prevent like humans from ever like being like a single thing, is because we cannot make the entire planet the exact same. And one, if we ever could, then yes.
You have funny enough, you have kind of like borderlines, like splits an area where you have like people who do something a certain way, and then you have like basically because of how everything works, people will always be different than other people.
Yeah.
Everybody won't be the same. Therefore, they will find reasons, or at least a subset of the population will find reasons to dislike and disunify with those other people, and from that point on, like, there won't be unity. There can't be unity.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. First of all, like, freedom gives the greatest like chance for that like confrontation between different people.
Yeah.
Is giving people the freedom of like choice.
Decide, I don't like you.
Yeah, but then also one of the biggest things is allowing for different upbringings. Because if you were to
Poor
upbring,
people versus rich people.
well, not just that, but just like
Yeah.
opinions, ideas, thought processes, all that stuff being just
The
completely
very
different
act of
between
having
families.
freedom will create this unity.
Yeah, and so if you were to make everybody have exactly the same upbringing, then the chances for
Then
like
have something
these
to hate each other over is
Yeah.
drastically reduced.
yeah, because then they will typically they'll think the same or they'll respond the same way to certain situations.
So the whole idea basically is the more similar you can make people, the less reasons they have to hate each other. But because you can never have everybody be the exact same person, there will
Yeah.
always be conflict.
Yeah, because even if you put them in a situation where every person grows up the exact same
They'll have their own
environment,
opinions.
yeah, they will still, because of like the way their brain functions, just is different. Then they will just respond differently. Maybe not too much or as much differently,
But all it
but
takes is like a single disagreement to turn into an argument and then an opinion on like, I hate that guy. He
Yeah.
thinks differently, and then there's conflict.
yeah, pretty much. And then also there's a circumstance of chance. You know, like what if you're like just walking past a dude and he accidentally bumps into you? Well, that didn't happen to everybody else. So now you have something against this guy,
Yeah, because that guy.
but that's it.
did that, yeah.
Like you just have something against him because he accidentally bumped into
But
you.
maybe 70 other people had that same kind of thing happen where somebody bumped into them. And
Yeah.
they're like, that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
That guy's on my list now.
Yeah, basically, that's pretty much
He
how it is.
caused me a modicum of inconvenience.
Yeah, so there's too many factors to control.
Oh, yeah. The biggest reason I ask is because one of those weird things that's cropping up is people who are like, I do not support interracial marriage. Like I saw this thing, it was a salon basically. Like this white chick was dating a black guy, and one of the salonists, I think that's what you call them.
Sure.
One of the
was like,
beauticians.
Is that what you call a person who does somebody else's hair?
Yeah,
A
actually.
a
that
barber?
is- that is a beautician. Ironically. I'm not joking with you.
The boyfriend's petition basically was just like a freaking, you're dating a white woman? Like, what do your kids look like? Like, she's just going off. I'm like, that's a good question. I'm pretty sure that, well, that's why I was asking you if one parent will usually take on like the more dominant genes in a relationship. Because like, well, the nearest comparison I have to it, because I've never really considered that whole kind of thing for for humans. Is like in instances of like dogs, some dog breeds will have dominant genes, so their genes will just like overpower other species.
Like corgis.
Yeah, like their genes are just dominant in some species, and they just overpower other dogs.
Yep.
Like their other dog breeds will then resemble them. So like I don't know if it works that way for.
Yeah,
Like,
it works that way for everybody. It's just one of those things.
that's whack. Alright, it's time to start breeding a superhuman.
I mean, technically, it's possible.
There was a story I heard on that where basically this really rich guy wanted to take the best NBA player, like the best basketball player ever,
Yeah.
and then pair him with the best woman basketball player and pay them to have a kid, because it's like in his mind it would be the ultimate child. Like, it would take the best traits of literally the dad, who's like 7 feet tall, and the mom, just pure peak athleticism.
Yeah.
Like bundle it up into a super child.
See, the only problem is that you'd have to do it multiple times because you cannot, like, nature doesn't work perfectly predictable like that.
No, there's a chance
So-
they could just get a crippled autistic child.
Well, I mean, yeah, but more often, they could just end up having a normal-sized person with
Yeah,
bad coordination.
And normal people could actually just have a super child.
Exactly. I mean,
Nature's
that's the
weird.
thing.
Nature's weird that way.
Yeah, so I mean, like, the only way to do it perfectly is to use genetic manipulation.
It almost makes you wonder, like, why humans didn't, like why humans don't, like, breed, like, genetics-wise, as efficiently as possible. Because you think about it, apparently, the woman's body selects specifically excuse me, the exact cell that it uses in the egg to make a child, right? Like, out of all the cells that make it to the egg, it chooses which one to allow in order to create a child. And so part of me is just like, could you imagine if, like, because in theory, the human body is capable of doing this, to have, like, every child that's born, like, on the male side is, like, just, like, an Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, no,
Like,
they don't have that option.
It has the capability to become something like.
Well, that's the thing is,
Because you've had natural juggernauts. You have people who've been born like Shaq, like Shaquille O'Neal. His mom wasn't anything special, but this dude's like I saw these guys made him a custom knife, and literally he holds this thing, and the blade is the thickest part of my machete, right?
Yeah.
It's thicker than that. Like, it's a slab of sharpened metal, and it just, like, a normal person would hold it with two hands, so, like, wave this massive cleaver, and he just holds it in one hand.
Yeah.
Like, when Shaq eats a donut, he pops the whole thing in like a freaking lifesaver. And, like, he holds a little water bottle like one of those kids ones. Like, the fact that a normal person gave birth to that monstrosity, that absolute unit of nature. Like, could you imagine if all humans that just give birth to something like that? Like, every human child is like a Shaq.
That'd be funny.
That'd be wild. So it makes you wonder, like, why is it that our bodies don't do something like that?
Well,
if it was a
the
question
biggest
of just,
thing,
like, resources, like getting the resources.
it's not even just about like that. So, like, the body doesn't know, like, they don't actually know what the person's going to turn out to be. And that's the thing, is, like, because nature's so diverse and it's all over the place, and nature also is always doing this specific thing where it's trying to adapt all the time. So that's one of the biggest reasons too, is it's like it doesn't just pick a specific genetic code that is like cool or whatever. It's always picking between different ones to be like, because it always
that
wants.
definitely helps to prevent inbreeding.
Well, no, it's mostly for like circumstance, because basically nature doesn't want an entirety of one species to be exactly the same. Because if something comes along,
I was just gonna say, isn't that how like a disease comes by
yeah,
and kills everyone?
because if something comes along that is specifically able to kill them, then all of them will die out immediately.
I know, but it's more like I feel like if all humans had been built like Shaq, then like, are you megafauna dead? Kidding me? What, like, if mammoths struggle to deal with humans when they're like, I don't know, 5 foot tall and pointed out like dwarfs, what are they gonna do when like 100 Shaqs run over the hill with like spears the size of a small tree? It's just like, we don't need to push them off cliffs, we'll stab them to death. What are they gonna do? Like, that's the thing, is like, if, like, they don't all have to be the same, but if humans were just built bigger and better, like, sure, they need more food, and I could see, like, circumstance resulting in, like, people not being that big, but if they had the resources, like, that was always a thought in my mind, if humans had access to the resources, then, like, why wouldn't their bodies strive to be better? I feel like
they are striving to be better all the time.
Dude, I tell you, if, like, our ancestors were fighting, like, a Tyrannosaur, it would definitely have been better for them to, like, be 7 feet tall and, like, incredibly muscular versus, like, yeah, so I'm, like, 5 foot.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, you know, being agile is really cool.
Yeah,
and that
you crawl on the ground like mole people.
That's
getting eaten by the
that's not
fire.
what agile does. They don't crawl on the ground. Being agile is the ability to, you know, maneuver around an opponent.
Yes, swinging from vine to vine like Tarzan. Dude, so have you ever heard of an anime called Baki?
Yes, Connor, I've heard of the anime Baki.
Have you ever seen it?
No.
Okay.
If you've shown it to me, then I've seen it.
I don't think I showed it to you. So basically, there was a character in it called Pickle.
Okay.
And his whole thing was he was a caveman that was fossilized in crystal fighting a tyrannosaur. Right? Like, he hunted apex dinosaurs for his meals. And I kid you not, this dude was like 7, 8 feet tall, hyper monkey. He had fangs, like gorillas. He had fangs. Like, this dude was like the apex of like a human
Just fucking rip.
And so they freaking freed him from this crystal, and it was goofy. They tried to wake him up and they couldn't. And one of the scientists was like, while nobody's here, I'm going to steal one of the samples and I'm going to make myself a T-Rex steak. So he's eating this T-Rex, and the pickle smelled it and it woke him up from his coma. And so, yeah, freaking this apex caveman who actively, like, in the freaking crystal, he was wrestling a T-Rex and choking it to death in a headlock. Like, he was strangling a T-Rex to death.
That's so funny.
And he's, like, one of the strongest fighters because, yeah, he hunted dinosaurs. It was the dumbest thing ever. But I'm like, could you imagine if humans could evolve like that? Like, because I know Neanderthals kind of did that. Like, they were shorter, but they were just broader and thicker and, like, denser. Like,
Yeah.
their bones could just have, they just had a much higher tensile strength and could resist much greater impacts without being shattered or fractured. And I'm like, okay, I kind of get that. I get that. Like, it makes sense that that would be an evolutionary trait that, like, is more common to develop. But, like, it's just kind of sad that there's not, like, at least one example I know of humans just be like, you know how we evolved? We just got bigger. So, like, a normal human, you know, 5'10", maybe 5'7", or 5'6", depending on how far back you go. You know, you can square up with the lion you can eat. But you have a tribe of, like, 50 men the size of Shaq. The lion population dies. It just gets eaten.
Well, see, that's actually it's funny that you mentioned that because obviously the reason we're here and we're the way that we are is because we were actually the superior design. We destroyed the Neanderthals in terms of longevity.
Well, that was the thing is they say that they estimate the reason the Neanderthals disappeared. A, we could breed them. That was a big thing. It's like our species could crossbreed. But the issue with them is that humans, we traveled a lot more and we actually mingled and grew societies where Neanderthals were very seclusive and they would build small groups and they didn't travel and meet other people. Like they built small societies and had to rely off themselves. They didn't branch out and group up with other Neanderthals. Yeah. So, like, when something bad would happen, that tribe...
Just get to spit out those for free?
Like, when something bad would happen, that tribe would get wiped out, and that would be that. Like, yeah, they didn't have anything to reach out to. Like, that, as far as I knew, they were it, and then maybe humans would come along, but they would stay a small pocket, and eventually that pocket would just die out, or get absorbed by something else.
Yeah. But basically, the point is that in the world that we live in, our design was superior. We were better genetically than the Neanderthals, and that's why we're alive now, and we're not shorter and more broad.
I know. I'm just saying, if there was a tribe of
I got ammo forever.
If there was a tribe,
it runs off already.
Like a tribe of people that were like the size of Shaquille O'Neal, and like they are going up against normal people of similar technological level.
I don't know, man.
You know how scary shitless a bunch of 5'5" dudes facing off against an army of Shaqs would be? Because I tell you, I think the only situation where you win against like a group of people like that is if you're smart enough to, like, basically, it could be an army of people the size of Shaq, and it wouldn't matter if you poison their water and they all die. But the things that a person of that stature are capable of compared to a normal person, like, it's crazy. I just feel like they have so much more potential to do things that a normal human couldn't.
Yeah, but what they're doing is they're sacrificing agility.
Yeah,
and stamina.
Well, that's the thing.
The amount of energy it takes to run a body that size.
But that's the thing is, if you could provide the resources to compensate for that, i.e.
then yeah, obviously,
yeah,
it would make sense. But you can't. That's why it doesn't exist. Because you can't do that. You know?
I just thought you would see more of it in modern society, though. Like, in a society where you can fulfill those needs.
Maybe, but you gotta remember, though, that, like, our, like, modern society, relative to genetic advancement just naturally over time, is so tiny. Like, the amount of time...
You say that, but did you hear that they think that, I think within the next several years, cloning is going to be... Like, I think it's the UN just had a meeting to discuss the legality of artificial wombs.
Well, that's the thing. Is, yeah, we're getting to the
That's
point where
terrible.
we can make people without, like, specifically, you know, having another person house the child.
Yeah.
But then we're getting to the point where we are able to specifically select genetic traits
Yeah,
to
like they're
exist
doing that in China.
in children.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're
And-
gonna have an autistic child.
And so, like, well, no, I mean, like, specifically, like,
I know.
in the embryo.
I know what you're saying.
And so over time,
Genetic modification.
as we
So-
get better at that, we could technically create a bunch of Shaquille O'Neals.
Yeah.
Not even just specifically him, but people that
Yeah.
have that strength. and
Superior traits.
stuff. Yeah, but the real advancement in that case, if you wanted something like that, would be to actually combine abilities from animals into humans, because
Yeah,
then
but
you
we're
can
getting into
gain.
some really unethical stuff.
Well, yeah.
I
so,
already
mean,
don't
you know,
like the whole artificial womb thing. You know what's some of the first arguments against that?
what.
They're gonna make people that don't exist. Like, there's no birth register. Like, if people like, hey, got this technology, let's just, you know, make a couple of our own. Don't tell everybody. Now we can just make people that don't exist. Like, there's not a birth certificate. There's not a record of them ever being here. Nobody even knows we have these things, right? We're just gonna make people. We can do whatever we want. We don't need to abduct people.
Well, they can do that normally.
Yep.
They don't need artificial wombs to do
actual
that.
people, but the issue, I'm talking supply now. Like, now they can just, like, yeah, they just dedicate an underground facility and just every single time. We don't have to worry about the state of the person. You know, it's a machine. So you just, you know, friggin' 9 months. All right, 9 months.
Okay, yeah, but there's more to it than just 9
Look.
months, baby.
Look, man.
It's not just
my-
electricity
my-
that's going to fuel
my-
this thing.
I know, but my biggest concern is the applications that, like, I'm not saying the things that are happening right now are good. I'm saying that the introduction of this technology could make a lot of things worse. Heck, there was one thing. There was I think it was a story. I don't want to say this was a real thing, like a real concern. I think it was a story somebody wrote. I can't remember the name of the book. The whole idea, though, is that that's basically what happened. Is you could say you have a career, right? You're working and whatnot. And you're like, I don't want to deal with the stress of having a kid, so I'm just going to pay this company, and they're going to do an insemination and make a child for me. They don't even use an egg or anything from her. Like, they have a whole process for that. They just make a kid, and like it just gets delivered to you after like 9 months. I'm like, dude, I think that's a terrible idea.
Well, okay,
It's a terrible
so
idea, because at the end of the day, I don't think you can deny the fact that there is a bond, an inherent bond formed between a child that you have personally and a child that's adopted. Like, I think you
Yeah.
can definitely form a bond and attachment with the child.
but like one of the things with the artificial wombs is they still need like genetic information from real people because they can't create artificial like
I don't think
half
we can create,
genetics.
yeah, I don't think we can create
Yeah, so
our
it's like
own life from
you're
anything.
you're still grabbing genetic information from actual living people,
Yeah.
like real humans that exist. So it's not exactly the same.
Well, yeah, like I said, it was a story. It was a book that it was referencing from, but that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like I just feel like it's got a lot of bad implications. Like it's one of those things where it's like just because you can, explore into it and do all this stuff, like should you
Yes.
really? Like how long before you hit Pandora's box and do something that just makes everything
Not
worse?
soon enough. See, I think the real play would be to make it so that people can grow faster,
Why?
adult faster.
Like make them adults in a short
Well,
span of
so
time?
not 9 months in the world, 3 months, and not 18 years for a full grown.
We must focus.
10 years.
The first step is
Why
to
is
locate
this?
the machine's control
Well, because you can
console.
advance the human race far quicker than.
Yeah.
Yes, but
And the idea is that because we don't lack the resources or the energy to achieve it, the idea would be to make that happen so you can build people faster.
What's one of those? Yeah, but what's that phenomenon called where you eventually do something without understanding the consequences that can happen?
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know if that's-
I'm not sure what the term for that is, but I feel like this is definitely one of those things where it sounds like there's gonna you can't have your cake and eat it too.
What?
So we basically cut off 2 decades of a child's life expectancy early on to make them an adult immediately. But we don't know what this is gonna do to them. Like, what happens if that makes them not mindless drones, but like I don't know. What happens if it, like, at the age of 60 universe, like, they all immediately become psychotic and try to kill everyone within arm's reach? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you've cut off 6 months of the womb, so now they're just there for 3, and then they lose 8 years of development that they normally would have to get to being an adult, because they're there at 10 instead of, like, what kind of consequences are going to have? Because that's 8 years of it, like, natural, emotional, and physical development that they were going to go through that no longer exists. And that was presumably, like, just being generous. Let's just say that we had some technology that just made all 6 months in the womb that they had, like, unnecessary. Like, they're okay. That's still 8 years that they just lost permanently.
Oh, but they didn't lose them because they're still capable of living a normal human's life.
So does this shorten their life, or
No.
does it?
It's
Okay.
same. It would be just like everybody else, but they
So
actually
they live
gain
8 years as an adult instead of a
longer.
child.
And the idea is that if we have enough, if we're able to do that, chances are we can make it so that, like, mentally, they're way more capable than a normal person is now. So that lack of 8 years is literally nothing. Their ability to emotionally and mentally develop in those 10 years is far exceeds anybody now. So it literally just makes it
I
a moot
I
point.
really feel like this is open Pandora's box.
Oh yeah, well
Yeah.
well, literally genetic manipulation does
Yeah.
that, especially when you start doing it to humans because
Oh, like the
difference
bone
between-
marrow babies. They, like, all we know is they just die.
Well, yeah.
Like, that's the only real consequence so far. They can't survive for very long.
But so, like, because one of the things about genetic manipulation with, like, us versus animals is that we're sentient beings.
Yeah.
So, like, it's very different, like, what repercussions will happen if you start modding a being with free will.
versus like a pig.
Yeah,
you can't
versus
notice
a pig.
nearly as well. You can notice like outside, but you don't know what's going on inside the pig. 'Cause
Yeah.
the pig only really cares to eat, sleep, reproduce. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't. You can tell we don't care about pigs because we're testing growing ears and noses off the pigs, like just off their body. Like, let's just grow an ear off this rat's back.
Yeah,
And then
basically.
chop it off and then transplant it to a human because they're similar enough that like the body probably won't reject it when the transplant happens. But,
Yeah.
yeah. Versus like, yeah, we actually have laws that prevent you from growing an ear on Steve's back because Steve is a human being. Yeah, definitely not for that stuff. Not for that stuff. at all.
It's very interesting to think about, though.
It's just crazy what people will do, man. Like what questions have been asked to get us to this point. Like I remember back in the day when our simple goal every day was to see if we could survive the next fight with the saber-toothed tigers, and then eat them.
And they consume the flesh.
Yeah, not like so. Could we figure out if my child's gonna have autism before he's even like 1 month old? Like,
Well, that's another thing, though. If we don't figure out how to genetically modify humans before, like, they're born and stuff, our race is actually relatively quickly, like, going downhill right now. Like,
Is it because
mentally and physically.
the comforts and changes. Well, that's why wisdom teeth have like become a hindrance because we used to have like tough, bigger jaws.
Yeah.
And then
We had
like
to chew stuff
yeah,
harder.
like we had to literally shred raw meat with our teeth.
So we all, as humans, we're becoming softer. But another thing that I'm thinking about is, being humanitarian. Special needs people. More and more of those people are being born.
Yeah.
Because not only are we like, okay, let's keep them alive because this isn't their fault, they didn't deserve it.
Yeah,
And
which
whatever.
is the right thing to do.
Yeah,
to take
it's the
care
right
of
thing to
people.
do.
Yes.
But not only are we doing that, but we're also allowing those people to breathe.
Yeah, like those people, like normally that child would probably, like basically any children they had that would continue to have these traits would just die.
Yeah.
Like they would just be
They
killed.
wouldn't be able to survive.
Like either they would get killed by their own parents, by their own tribe, or by nature. Like that's
Yeah.
just how it would naturally work out. And then eventually, if they failed in having offspring, they would just pass away. That their bloodline would die off.
Yeah.
And the only bloodlines that would exist are people who do not have those traits.
Yeah.
And that's why it happens.
But
in our
so
societies.
yeah. So right now, because of that, plus also a lot of stuff that would normally kill people, like if you got like an infection,
Yeah.
you would normally die from that.
Yeah.
Or
But
lost
now-
a leg.
Yeah, or just like a
severe
genetic defect.
trauma. Yeah.
Like if you had a genetic defect where you're just like, I don't know, you were born with only one leg.
Yeah.
That would normally kill you, but because now it won't,
Yeah.
you're allowed to reproduce and thus continue that genetic defect down the line.
Yep.
So as a species, we're becoming weaker and weaker very, very quickly.
Yeah, but like the moment that freaking everything would fall apart, like only the strongest and those capable of surviving would get to not even get to have children. They would be able to allow their children to survive. Like that's what would do it.
Yeah. So it's like, who knows?
Yeah, it's
We're born too early to know what'll happen.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually because like you see like indigenous African tribes, they're very basic. Like they're not physically like they're in shape. You can see that obviously, but they're not like shredded or like six pack super. No, they're dudes.
Well, the amount of energy it takes to do something like that is ridiculous. You know how much those freaking bodybuilders.
Well, the issue with it is because
Crazy.
they keep their body percentage or their body fat percentage really low. But like again, they just look like really dudes, but physically, like it's so funny. Like because I saw a piece of Joe Rogan's podcast. He's talking about this Asian guy, and basically this dude went and spent time with one of these tribes, and like he talks about their hunting styles, and like sometimes like at one point they like ambush baboons at night to like kill them so they can eat them, and like they run with huge packs of wild dogs who like follow them basically, and like they run out ahead, and like they'll corner stuff so these guys can like chuck spears and shoot arrows at them. But like when they're hunting like several different types of animals, they just run for hours. Like like he described it like he's like these guys run for like 4 or 5 hours. They'll dig out like a small hole, let it fill up with muddy water, take a sip, and they keep freaking going. Like it's really interesting because you think about it, and like one of the fastest humans ever was Usain Bolt. He runs 27 miles an hour. A hippo can run faster than that. Huge fat tub of lard on 4 tiny stumpy legs, run like 35 miles an hour. Like even a hippo can kill him, but where we excel is that we don't stop running. And so eventually they'll get tired and they'll stop and they'll lay down. And we don't need to walk up and hit them with a stick where they can like swipe a paw and just kill us. You just throw a spear or something, just shoot an arrow, and it just dies.
Well, that's one of the funny things though too is that some animals when you wear them out like that, they literally just lay down and don't move anymore. And then you just come over and kill them.
Yeah.
Literally
like,
the simplest thing.
Yeah. Like a buffalo might like freaking stand and like kind of face off with you, but like a freaking gazelle or something, it's probably
It'll
just
lay down and die.
Yeah, it's just gonna lay down. You can walk up and just.
Because they're completely exhausted at that point.
Yeah.
They literally can't even move.
Like, and it doesn't even stop with herbivores. Like, it's interesting because you ask him like, one of the things he asked him like what he's afraid of, and obviously he lists stuff that can kill people. Like, there are things they would eat, like rhinos and elephants and hippos and lions and stuff. But I'm like, if they were dedicated enough, as in like we have to kill this thing to eat it, like they could, a tribe of dudes hunt a lion.
Yeah.
Like that's the crazy thing. Like maybe a couple of the. It's not like a video game where like a lion would jump from one guy to the next. No, like a lion could maul a guy, maybe another guy, but like if they're like we gotta kill this thing and eat it, like yeah, like 18 dudes would probably kill a lion. Just throwing spears and shooting it with arrows.
Well, that's the thing. If you were at 18 dudes and you went up to a single lion, that lion
he's gonna run.
Yeah, but you're gonna outpace the lion.
You're gonna chase him down.
And that lion, because of the design of its body, its
not
endurance is far less than like a gazelle.
Short bursts of energy to like kill whatever it's gonna kill.
So you're gonna catch up to that lion really fucking quick.
And if you think about it, because of how humans are, like lions will just murk a hyena, not to eat it, but to like remove it from the population. If humans wanted to do that, it would take like one arrow like covered in shit.
Yeah.
It's gonna get an infection. It's not gonna be able to use that leg anymore. It's gonna die.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing. Is if humans just wanted to kill something, like we don't even care if we eat it. Like we just want it to die. Humans kill everything.
Oh yeah.
Like even primitive humans.
Yeah, it's that intelligence factor. It was literally a game changer.
Yeah, just throw carrion in a pond or something, and like all of a sudden anything that drinks from there just passes away.
Yeah.
Like there's rotting meat in the pond.
Yeah, the intelligence is one of those like genetic you know, things where it's really hard to get a species going that runs off of intelligence because that species has to sacrifice every other ability.
A lot of evolutionary
to do that.
traits, yeah.
So like we're not powerful relative.
We
to
can't
any other
overpower
animal.
almost any other animal.
Yeah.
Like in the grand scheme of every other major food source that would be important to us, like in terms of sheer capabilities, we could not overpower it.
Yeah, and so we had to sacrifice every other ability to have intelligence.
But in exchange for that,
Yeah, so it's a
we gained
gamble.
we
It's a
gained-
huge fucking gamble.
Yeah, I think there was a point they estimated where there was maybe 2,000 humans left on the planet. Like apparently we almost went extinct multiple times.
Yeah.
But we survived.
Yeah.
Honestly, when you hear the stories about like, and this is not a discouragement to having children, but when you hear the stories, man, on like just how likely it is that a lady is to die from childbirth, it really makes you wonder how they survived. Like it's like, what are the freaking odds? Like literally, you have like a 50% chance of dying, or I don't actually know if that's the number. But, like you have a 50% chance of just dying from your first kid. Like just something like it gets easier after the first time, but like there's just such a high chance that something goes wrong. It's like, how the frick did we not die?
Oh, that's another thing. I mean, that's another thing that continues because normally the people who would die after their first one wouldn't be able to carry their genetic line anymore.
But we have hospitals and
But
doctors.
now they
and that's-
can. So
Yeah.
more and more people have kids that would otherwise have died or never been born in the
and
first
then
place.
they would have also died, therefore removing that entire bloodline.
Yeah, just
and
keeping it going, full
Yeah.
sending.
Like you get to a point where you have almost exclusively people that can quite capably have as many kids as they want, and then it just explodes because it's like you had one group, you had two people, one family. The wife died from first childbirth, and then she's gone, and then the other had like 13 kids because she was successful. Just,
We're about to get into some more shit, so
We might as well call it here.
yeah.
Alright, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing.
Definitely go check out our other channel.
Until next time, peace out.
Bye bye.